Hey, welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel, depending on who you are. Today's video is going to be story time about my diagnosis. This is a story all about how my life got flipped, turned upside down. Which, by the way, I love Will Smith. If Will Smith is watching this, I want to meet you. He's like the only celebrity that I care about meeting. I just want to have a conversation with him. Anyways, that's a complete side note. Nothing to do with this video. Will Smith does not have diabetes, from what I know of. So, I was diagnosed actually this month, 15 years ago. By the end of the month, I'll have like a little celebration or something. I got something good for y'all. Wait for it. Picture this. 7th grade. Wow, that was a long time ago. For some of you, you might be in 7th grade. I don't know. So, I was going to turn 13. I was 12. I was 12. So, I was 12 years old, and my mom didn't get me the vaccines that you need when you go into middle school. I think it's like the 7th grade, like 12-year-old to 13-year-old vaccine that you need to take. I didn't take that. On top of the fact that I didn't belong to the middle school that I went to. I never technically belonged to any of the elementary, middle, or high school that I went to because of the fact that I lived in a different part of town. I lived like over the bridge. That sounds bad. That's what I did. I lived over the bridge, so that was a different district or whatever, school zone district. Anyways. So, because I didn't belong to the school and because I didn't have those vaccines, I wasn't able to get registered to go into school. And I had to go to the doctor to get the vaccines, which I don't think I had been to the doctor in a while. So I did a routine checkup, and my doctor also realized that I had darkness along my neck, which is something that you notice when kids have type 1 or diabetes. It could be type 1 or type 2. And so I go to the doctor, get the blood work, go home. Cool. My mom then gets a phone call from the doctor, and the doctor's pretty much like, hey, you need to take her to Miami Children's Hospital. Her blood sugar is like over 300. I don't remember the number. I'm not one of those people who remembers the number. And they're like, pack your things, go. She needs to be treated. So I go to Miami Children's Hospital. They tell me I'm type 1 diabetic. Crazy. Didn't know. I knew about diabetes a little bit before because my father was pre-diabetic about a year or two before. Which, funny enough, I feel like things just happen for a reason. Crazy. So I ended up going to the hospital. They treated me, taught me how to inject myself, taught me how to check my blood sugar, taught me where to inject myself, taught me about eating right, carb counting, how my life was going to change. And I just remember being so excited, and I was just like, oh my god, I'm type 1 diabetic. I don't even know what this means, but this is so exciting. Which is so freaking crazy because that's such a life-changing disease. It changes your whole entire life. Now I live with type 1 diabetes 24/7. Like, I never take a break. Back then I didn't realize that. I had that whole little honeymoon stage of like, oh, this is gonna be the rest of your life, and it's super cool because you could eat healthy and learn how to exercise because you need to and all this stuff. And granted, I had been overweight my whole entire life. I don't think I've ever been technically skinny. I've probably been thinner at some points in my life, but I've never been skinny. So, I don't know, I was just really excited for it. I thought this was really, really cool. So, I know how to spell flipped, but I spelled fit. Just don't judge me. Thanks! Which, funny enough, this is the bear that my aunt, Tia Cookie, I call her Tia Cookie. Her name isn't Cookie. But whatever. She gave me this bear, and it's a Russell Stoven bear. But she took off the chocolates because she's like, I didn't feel like it was appropriate to give you this with the chocolates in it because you're diabetic, which I don't think a lot of my family understood what diabetes was before I was diagnosed. I am the first person also in my family to be diagnosed with diabetes, or type 1 diabetes, which back then they thought was crazy. They're like, there's nobody in your family with diabetes. And my mom was like, no, maybe people in Cuba, but like we don't know. And to learn now that 85% of type 1 diabetics are the first people in their family to become diabetics. It's a mutation, guys. Like, hello, get with the times. I'm also from a Hispanic family. Hispanic families don't always understand the science behind certain diseases because in their country, insulin was only created 100 years ago. If you think about it, people still don't understand like the mechanisms and stuff behind diabetes. Obviously there are people who do, doctors and all that stuff, but like to people who like haven't been educated correctly and all that stuff, it's not something that you really know about until somebody in your family or somebody you care about has it. Funny enough, through that whole entire change, I used to be in gifted classes from like 3rd to 6th grade, and I had the same group of friends, same group of people that I had classes with. When I went into 7th grade, because of this whole thing, I missed the whole first week of school. My whole entire schedule changed, and I was still in honors classes, but it wasn't with the same group of people that I was usually with, and I had like a whole group of friends. So it was like, not only was I diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, but then I got a whole new group of friends, which I still had my old friends, but then it was a whole new group of friends, which if you follow me on Instagram, my best friend Diana, that's how I met her. And it's kind of funny how if I've never, like, became diabetic or didn't have those vaccinations or all these little things didn't add up, I probably would have never been best friends with her. And she's honestly, like, one of my bestest friends, along with 2 other people, Henry and Linda, which, like, they're like my little babies. They're just like, ugh. And here they are. After I was diagnosed, I had like a really good like honeymoon period where my A1C was pretty good. I feel like it was always under 8 for like the first year, which is not perfect but pretty good. Granted, I would eat fast food all the time. I come from a Hispanic family that eats rice and beans for every meal of the friggin' day. And yeah, but anyways, I also wouldn't like, I'd be afraid to take too much insulin, and I'd be afraid of checking my blood sugar. I would also forget to take my insulin and forget to check my blood sugar. And especially after high school started, I just like fell off the wagon. Like 7th grade, I was kind of okay. 8th grade, I was kind of okay. Starting to like fall off a little. 9th grade, I was just like, I'm in high school. I can do what I want. I don't have to wear a uniform. All this stuff. And then my parents got divorced when I was 15. Funny enough, a week after my quinces was when they decided to tell me, probably me and my sister, but me, that they were getting divorced. Cool. So, not realizing it back then, but looking back on it now, I realized that changed everything for me. I just rebelled. I wanted to be the center of attention. I'm also the youngest, so I obviously wanted to be the center of attention. I had always been the center of attention, but my parents always babied me when it came to my sickness, and they were always like, oh, poor her, she's diabetic, she doesn't know. Oh, you want fast food? Oh, it's okay. Like, I hear stories of other parents, and the other parents are just like so on top of their children. And my parents tried being on top of me, but I was just not having it for some reason because I was an idiot. And it's no fault to my parents. They did the best they could with the knowledge that they had, but you could only do so much. You can take a horse to the water, but you can't make it drink it. So my A1C levels were always high, and my doctor was very concerned, but she could only do so much. And like, it's not that I didn't understand what I had to do, I just didn't want to do it. I wanted to ignore diabetes. I didn't want to have it. I wanted to pretend that my life and diabetes were 2 separate entities, and I can turn it off and turn it on when I wanted to. No, don't do that. Don't ever do that. I mean, if you need to do that, try not to, the thing is, like, when I think back on it, like, I didn't have any real stressors in life. I was a kid. I was so dramatic. And now that I look back on it, I'm just like, but why? Why were you like that, though? Why were you such a freaking idiot? And it wasn't until I got DKA for real, like, intensely, when I started to change my ways and, you know, eat healthier, which, it's hard, you know, growing up with Hispanic parents who think that every sickness in the book can be remedied by freaking tea and weird things. Like, no, that's not how type 1 diabetes works. You can't just remedy it by, like, taking a magic pill. I will have this for the rest of my life unless they find a cure. But they're from Cuba, you know, like, they always hear about their aunts, uncles, cousins, girlfriend who got cured of diabetes. I've seen so many stories like that. No, I need insulin. Like, this is what I need. So, and I need to take care of myself, and I need to check my blood sugars, and I need to eat right and exercise and do all these things. But this is my life. If it weren't for the struggles that I went through when I was in high school and my early 20s, I wouldn't be here now. I wouldn't be making this video, and I wouldn't want to help other diabetics. If you would have told me when I was 20 that I'd be doing this, I'd be like, So the reason I'm telling you all this and going through, like, this whole entire circumventing of what I'm trying to say is that it's okay if you're not doing well. It's okay if your A1C levels are kind of horrible right now. It's okay if your A1C levels used to be pretty horrible. It's okay if your parents didn't really pay attention to your diabetes the way that they should have. It's okay if you don't have the resources. This is why I'm making these videos. This is why I want to create this channel and help other people and eventually become a certified diabetes educator, because I've been through those struggles. I understand what it is to, like, not have money, not have insurance, not able to get insulin, not wanting to take care of yourself, not wanting to believe that you have diabetes. Like, I understand, and I think all of us in the diabetic community somewhat understand that. You know, like, there have been some people who are more privileged than others and have had a really or a pretty good diabetic experience, and others who had a horrible one, and they're the ones in between. I want to say I'm pretty much in between, but it's okay. Like, it's okay that your A1C level isn't a 7 or a 6 or a 5 or perfect. I have so much going on in my life. I get depressed sometimes. I have anxiety sometimes. I have crazy mood swings. I go to school full time while trying to work almost full time, and it's hard. It's really hard to try to, like, manage a 24-hour disease on top of the 24-hour life that I have. So the reason I'm saying this is that it's okay to kind of, like, fall off the wagon, or you didn't have a great experience when you were younger, but now you do, or maybe you had a great experience when you were younger and now you don't. Like, there's going to be highs and lows. This is a 24/7 disease. You can't always be on top of it. And don't beat yourself up on it. Don't compare yourself to others. And find community. I didn't have really diabetic acquaintances or, like, somewhat friends. I wouldn't say, like, anybody's, like, my real friend, but, like, I have a lot of acquaintances and people that I can talk to, and people that can help me, and people that I can be like, oh yeah, this is what I do. What do you do? You know, like, that's so important. And that is actually what, like, one of the reasons why I now have a pump and why I have a CGM is because of the fact that these things were able to happen. And just because my diagnosis story wasn't, like, a crazy diagnosis story and I didn't do super well when I was younger doesn't mean that I'm not doing better now in order to improve my health. So, with that being said, this is the end of the video. My next video will be coming sooner than my last video. And I hope you enjoyed this. And I will see you
on my next video.
Like, subscribe, tell your friends, to your friends' friends, to your friends who have diabetes. Like, yo, there's this girl, her name's Sanadu. Yeah. So, bye.